Greenwich Township Committee meeting of September 22nd, 2011.
Okay, members present. Emeliani?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak?
Here.
Siegel?
Yes.
Please rise to the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by mailing a schedule of the Township Committee to the express times in the North Star Ledger newspaper, posting a copy on the Township Bulletin Board, and filing a copy with the Township Clerk.
Okay. I need a motion for the approval of our township minutes of August 18th, 2011.
I have one correction.
Okay.
And there's one correction.
What page?
On page 1, number 2. Receive and file monthly reports.
Yeah.
My name is missing from
I'll go back and look.
that. Huh?
Probably a yes or abstain.
Right.
Which do you think you
I
are?
believe it was abstained.
You abstained on the reports?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you want to amend it as abstain?
Mm-hmm.
That's my recollection.
Yeah, I think I remember that too. Okay, so with that correction, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 18th, 2011?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second, Dan. Emeliani?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak?
Yes.
Siegel?
Yes. Need a motion to receive and file monthly reports for tax collector, court, CFO, police, and sewer.
I'll make the motion. The second.
Second, Dan. Emeliani?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak?
Yes.
Siegel?
Yes. Need a motion to receive, charge to various accounts, and pay monthly bills.
The motion. Second.
Emeliani?
No.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak?
Yes.
Siegel?
Yes. Need a motion to open up for public comment.
A motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right.
Okay. Anyone wishing to make public comment, please come up to the podium, state your name and address.
My name is Patrick Miller. I'm representing Fort Paws Playground and myself. We're trying to find out how another business in Greenwich Township has been in violation since 1998, notified that they had to get the violation rectified and that they had to, any improvements they made to their facility would have to go to the Board of Adjustments. Since that time, they submitted an application in 2008, didn't complete it due to I don't know what reasons, completed construction and opened a facility of 5 structures in 2010 and able to operate these buildings. And when it was brought up to, and then when they didn't receive any approvals, in late 2010, the committee and the Board of Adjustments and the Township Attorney were notified that they had done this. They're still operating the buildings, still generating revenue, and haven't paid any property tax on these, and have now advertised these buildings as of use and have displayed them. How are they able to operate these buildings for the past year, minimally? That's my first question that I would like to find out sometime along the way. Second of all is finding out that they have not completed their Board of Health kennel regulations because the fire inspectors have deemed them incomplete because they have not received their CO, and how are they still open for the last 9 months without receiving those information? Basically, I'm trying to find out how they're open, how they're using these facilities, why they have these buildings not been shut down. I understand that the township has put them under into the court system 8 months later, but how are they still able to operate this and use these facilities? I also found that they have submitted an application to the Board of Adjustments within the last few days, but then they go and advertise that they're open in a residential environment from 6 in the morning till 7 at night, and they're also offering retail sales in these residential environments. And they're still able to operate, advertise these environments, and use their environments these early in the morning, and still able to use these buildings for 9 months. So, don't know if there's an answer tonight, but I just wanted to make it public that there is a violation problem. It's been addressed through the court system, but how are they still able to operate and generate revenue and they have not paid any property tax on these buildings and they're still able to use them? Someday I'd like to hear the response for that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to make public comment? Seeing none, need a motion to close?
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, so Peter, for all these tax liens that have been paid, you're saying I need a motion that would.
Well, unless somebody wants to break any of them out and vote on them separately for some reason, you could make a motion to adopt resolutions 2011-73 through 2011-87 inclusive.
And do we need to describe what these are?
These are just outside lien redemptions, so I guess the property owner came in and redeemed the property by paying the amount of taxes that were due. And the lien holder was not the township, but a third party. That's what I think that's what that means by outside lien.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Emeliani?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak?
Yes.
Siegel?
Yes. Okay. The only agenda item I have this evening is just wanted to publicly make the announcement that our CFO has submitted her resignation. Grace Brennan, she is resigning effective October 31st will be her last day. And would just like to say a few things about this. Obviously, Grace decided for personal reasons that she was going to resign this particular her part-time position here. However, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the accomplishments that have been made over the last 3 years since Grace has been here, and just to highlight those accomplishments. And it's been in conjunction and partnership with our financial administrator, Sharon Brown. So, a couple things. First of all, and there's numerous accomplishments, but I'll just highlight them. First one being our payroll system went from a manual system to electronic transmission of data. As far as accounts payable, they were able to implement a requisition system, automated all checking accounts, so when checks come in, they're able to be run right through a machine and it gets deposited automatically into the bank account. As far as our budget process, much better controls and tracking of the budget has been put in place. Sewer implemented the issuance of delinquent notices, which apparently wasn't being done before. Found accounts that were not being billed. Found accounts that never paid connection fees and allocation fees. Processed tax liens, entered them in an automated system. As far as our tax process, they were able to fully mechanize the tax process, the tax system where it was being done manually before. This is a big, big accomplishment. Reconciled bankruptcy files, reconciled liens, sent out automated delinquent notices on a quarterly basis versus annually. We now do the tax bills in-house. We implemented a correct procedure for all delinquent accounts to be sold at tax sale. Generally, overall improved the integrity of the financial workings of the township. So we've made tremendous progress over the last 3 years. I believe much of it was due to our CFO and to Sharon, and I am, to say the least, upset that that Grace has decided to resign, although it was for personal reasons. I do believe that that we had an environment here in this township where there has been an adversarial relationship created by one of our committee members. And I think maybe some of you have witnessed it, where our CFO was, I'd say, beat up a little bit during township committee meetings. A number of times when Committeeman Adams was here, as well as Elaine, and more recently, I'd say, unduly beat up over the last 2 meetings regarding an emergency appropriation. And like I said, I think we have just lost probably one of the best CFOs in the state of New Jersey, and I am accepting her resignation, but certainly not happy about it. So with that, you already have the letter, right, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
On file? Okay.
Motion.
So I need a
I'll make the
motion.
motion.
Is the motion to accept the resignation?
Really not required legally, but if you want to do it, that's fine.
I'll second.
Emeliani?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak?
Yes.
Siegel?
Okay, Joe. You're up.
Okay, the first item that I have on my agenda, Recreation Committee, Recreation bylaws, we're not prepared to discuss that today. I went to the rec meeting last night. Angie had not had a chance to review recommended changes by our esteemed in-house attorney, so we're gonna have to put that back on the agenda for next month. I'm just going to flip the flop here just a little bit. Office of Emergency Management. During the recent bad weather, hurricane, what have you, I just want to commend everybody involved in our township that responded admirably, including Gary Hill and Tom Kalari, who I think acted in a stellar manner. Put a lot of people's minds at ease, and we kept in constant communication. There was some damage to some houses. The little restaurant down the road here was flooded out, as was that beautiful old stone building. I think somebody told me it had 4 feet of water in its living room.
Mr. Dillon?
So, I don't know of any other major damages that occurred, but you guys and your whole team just done an outstanding job, and also the fire department, police department. There's the first aid people on here, but thank you very much. Did a great job. Hopefully we won't witness situations like that too often in the future. But thank you, fellas. I really appreciate it. The next item I have is the ordinance for fire chief. I discussed it with Joe Mexi. We want to proceed. Is this the first reading on this, Peter?
This would be the first reading if you introduced it tonight, yes.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I'd like to move ahead and do a first reading.
Well, I recall that there were some questions at the last meeting. We didn't really get into a discussion of the ordinance at the last meeting. I was under the impression that the committee was going to study it further.
We talked about maybe discussing it in the executive session tonight. Is that appropriate?
Well, I guess if you were going to see it as relating to the contractual relationship between you and the fire department, if you would feel more comfortable discussing an executive, I guess.
I mean, I guess I don't really have a problem with it, but I'm certainly open to further discussion if that somebody else does.
I don't know whether you all had a chance to review it and are ready to discuss it.
I reviewed it, and I as of the last meeting, I hadn't gotten into any great detail with Joe Mexi, the chief. So I went over there and we had some conversation, and he's happy with it. He doesn't see anything. And from what I could see, I don't have any questions. But if somebody wants to discuss with the executive, I have no problem with that.
This was patched together, I think, from some other towns' ordinances and with some changes. But basically, the township has already made a long time ago the decision to make this particular volunteer fire company your official fire department. That was done a long time ago. What this does is kind of fleshes out a little bit more the fact that the chief is the chief of your fire department, which I thought was sort of understood, but I guess the chief wanted it spelled out. Spells out the officers of the company, fire company, as being the officers of the fire department, and procedures to be followed in the event of fires and so on. So, you know, it's up to you whether you want to discuss it tonight, introduce it tonight, take it under advisement again. It's up to you.
Does anyone have a concern with it, or?
No.
No.
Weren't there some concerns raised last meeting? I think you would add something
The
about
only-
the officers, or-
I don't recall exactly what my concern was. I don't understand I'm not sure what the implications are. I want to hear what everybody else is saying.
So that maybe you should,
Whatever your pleasure is, I don't have any problem with it. I think the way it is fine. Between Peter and Jolie.
Well, unless there's something specific to discuss, you either probably, if somebody has reservations, then maybe you want to do it at the next meeting, but I think in the meantime, somebody should prepare specific questions about it so
well,
that we
Peter,
can
do you
address
see
them.
any implications with identifying the officers and?
No, I think
What
this
is
is
the
an
need?
ongoing
I don't
relationship.
understand what the need is to change it from Stewartsville Volunteer Fire Company to Greenwich Township.
You're not changing the name of the fire company.
No, I know, but you're changing the name of the fire department. You're changing the name of the officers to Greenwich Township Fire Chief and Greenwich Township
You're
officers.
recognizing, you have an ordinance now that recognizes their fire department, their fire company as your official fire department.
Mhm.
This simply spells out who the officers are of the fire department, being the same as the officers of their fire company, the procedures to be followed at fires, the management.
But I thought we had that already and as the Stewartsville Volunteer Fire Company.
It's not spelled out in your ordinance. It just, you know.
So why isn't it still called the Stewartsville Volunteer?
It is. It basically is, if I understand it, what you're saying here is our ordinance names the Stewartsville Volunteer Fire Company as the Greenwich Township Fire Department, okay? So you have to name by law, you have to name who's gonna handle your fire. So we're naming Stewartsville Fire.
Well, you could.
But
No.
you're calling the line officers Greenwich Township.
Yeah, I mean, you're recognizing them as in essence, an agency of your township.
You're calling them the Greenwich Township Fire Chief, and you're
Right.
calling them,
Right. Right.
But it says the first word within Stewartsville Fire Department.
Yeah.
It's sort of, it's confusing, but I understand
There shall be.
what it's saying.
You know, you have 3 or 4 different types of relationships. You have fire companies that might cover you but are not recognized as your official fire department. That could be like, I don't know if you're covered by any other, like Union Township, for instance, is covered by 3 or 4 different fire companies, but there's only one that they recognize as their official fire department. One of the things that they do for their official fire department is that they pay certain of the insurance expenses of the fire department. Okay, they have a relationship. They also, in that township, they don't provide them with facilities, but you do in your township, you provide them with facilities at a nominal fee, right? Nothing, basically. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I remember the discussion.
yeah.
So, as a result of that, are we saying there's implications that we take action on it? If we take
Well,
action on it?
I think I don't think there's any more implications legally than what you had already done many years ago by establishing it as your fire company. So I'm not sure what implications you're concerned about.
Well, you don't see a negative in this in any case.
No.
I have one question for you. The word volunteers removed. It was volunteer Stoursville, now it's just Greenwich. Does that have any implications?
I believe that's the
That's-
official name of the thing, yeah. Okay. Where? What are you
Sports
talking?
volunteer, where's it in there?
In here it says Stoursville volunteer, and then we go to Greenwich Township Fire Department.
Well, that's what, within the Sports volunteer, when they name.
The word volunteer is missing.
Yeah, I think that's probably because that's what you have in your ordinance now, your code book now. You want to put in the word volunteer, you can, but it really, I mean,
No, I just want to make sure.
everybody
there's no
understands it's a
implication
volunteer
with
fire
that
company.
I would rather put in the word volunteer. I would rather put that.
Okay, well, then
So
we
are
should
you gonna
probably
put that
go
here,
back and amend.
Greenwich Township Volunteer Fire Chief shall be an active member?
I would rather put in the word volunteer.
I would have no problem if that's what you want to do in terms of the fire department. I don't think you need to say volunteer fire chief. But if you want to say the township volunteer fire department, that's, but then you really should go back and amend your code because
Yep.
yeah, the original code, because I think it refers, I don't think it uses the word volunteer in there. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of window dressing because the reality is that's what you do. I don't think it makes any difference legally.
Well, we have to appoint them every year. So we appoint them every year at the organizational meetings?
Oh, we designate
fire
the
department.
Storesville Volunteer Fire Department.
Yes.
As the fire department for the township. of
Exactly.
Greenwich.
If it's already in your code, I think it's a little bit superfluous to do that. I'm
But
not
we've
sure.
been doing it, and you've
Yeah.
been municipal attorney and never said anything.
Doesn't hurt, you
Okay.
know.
And we designate the Greenwich Township Emergency Squad.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at with this? What do you want to do?
Well, I'd like to do a first reading.
Okay, so,
Okay. Joe, are you making the motion?
I make a motion, yes.
I'll second.
Joe made the motion to accept. Emeliani?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak?
Yes.
Siegel?
yeah.
It's not on my agenda. I guess I should have put it on, Jen. I apologize. It's very brief. And I just want to make reference to the very touching and moving ceremony on 9/11 that we had here in our township. For whatever reasons, I wrote a letter to the Express Times about it, and it has not appeared yet. And I question the fact that they chose to go out. To my knowledge, the Express Times wasn't here. They chose to focus again on some unfortunate incident in another town when it came to 9/11. But not to take away from our residents and the people that, and the excellent job that First Aid Squad in obtaining the artifact from 9/11. And the really touching speeches, talks by the individuals. I was really moved by that. Everybody that spoke did an excellent job, very eloquent, and it brought the community together in a certain way. And I hope that the township continues to honor 9/11, because as time goes by, these things have a tendency to fade. And just very moving, very touching, and I think all those that had any hand in it ought to be commended very highly. So thank you.
Hey, Joe. Could I elaborate a little bit more on the emergency management portion for
Sure.
Hurricane Irene? I'd like some developments I'd like to bring forward to the committee members, real quick regarding that. And also while the township engineer is here. Gary Hill, Greenwich Township Emergency Management Coordinator. With regards to Hurricane Irene, we have officially submitted a request for public assistance through FEMA as a result of the declaration. I believe, Mike, you sent a representative from your office as well.
I was going to actually bring that up in my report, but yes, continue, please.
we're gonna have to get together as to, I had submitted one with both Tom and I, and you submitted one with you and Mayor Segal on it, so we'll have to get together which is the best way to, who's to contact. As well, we're gonna need to get together with the DPW foreman to put together a project worksheet. We have 60 days to submit a worksheet to FEMA.
Is that 60 days
from the date of occurrence?
Okay.
Excuse me, date of declaration. We have, the biggest thing is we did receive significant damage on Ravine Road. We've almost 75 to 80 yards of it was washed away, the asphalt. Joe was John in the meantime has put some gravel down so it did make it passable. But two of the residents down there, Mr. Richards and the Matrones, 100 and 104, both of their bridges, the aprons are completely washed away. Not township responsibility, but I have put them, both of them have registered with FEMA for assistance, as well as the Weens. They've had significant flood damage as well for Hurricane Irene. And some residents have actually already received payouts through FEMA for tens of thousands of dollars, so I was glad to see that. Unfortunately, there was a few residents along 173 who felt because they had flood insurance, they did not submit or apply, so I've encouraged them to do so. Some of them have rather large deductibles, and there may be assistance available through FEMA either way. But at this point in time, we still have an issue that's occurring that started with Tropical Storm Lee, which occurred between September 7th and 8th out on Dory Place. Residents felt something happened underneath the houses. Fortunately, the only thing that showed up so far is a small sinkhole by a storm drain, but I brought that to attention of OEM, state and federal government, as to whether or not something can be done to have it tested. Would you know of anything like that can be done as far as having that ground tested further for a sinkhole developing, or, you know?
Yeah, I was made aware of this situation as well by actually Mr. Glassman, who's a resident who lives right there. I actually got together with the DPW that morning, the next morning, and well, they fixed the sinkhole, but the, what do you want to call it, the explosion, the sound, which has been confirmed now by a number of parties to varying degrees. Actually, I spoke with the chief about it as well. Is very interesting and peculiar, a little scary, a little. Yeah. Actually, the chief did a lot of investigative work and made all the calls, the right calls that I thought anyway, and kind of come up empty, right? Unless something has changed. So I don't know what there really is to do beyond, hiring some high-tech geologist with some ground-penetrating radar. And
well, that's what I want.
Well, but I don't even know. I'm using these fancy terms, but I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if that's would be the correct approach, because everything's just an unknown at this point, other than what occurred. And does everybody know what occurred?
Would I be allowed to describe very briefly what occurred?
Well, that's up to them, but I wouldn't see why.
I don't want to go off track. As your environmental, one of the commissioners maybe. Barry Glassman, 502 Dory Place, also one of your environmental commissioners for the township. It was a Wednesday evening, pouring rain. At 7:30 p.m., I forget which date it was, but at 7:30 p.m. everybody was indoors. Typical night because it was pouring rain, and there was a very loud kaboom, and then the earth shook under our houses dramatically, to the point where we actually thought, because we'd already all experienced it not that long ago, we thought it was another earthquake. But it stopped after about 3 seconds. I grabbed my daughter, ran downstairs, my wife grabbed the dog, and we headed outside, and in socks or barefoot, and when we got outside in the rain, we saw that all of our neighbors were outside doing the same thing, and everybody yelling, "What was that?" And we had no idea what had just happened. So we called the police, we checked to see if maybe there was an explosion in the house. Nothing. The distance that it occurred, residents at the end of the cul-de-sac at Dory Place were walking down all the way to my house at the other end of Dory Place in Greenwich Street. I understand that the custodian in the school felt it also, all the way down Fanning Mill to Walter Way, a whole nother cul-de-sac, and and somebody close to Daniel Drive. So that entire section of Dory Place and that section of Wyndham Farm had some event. That is, there was no lightning, it was not thunder. And
But it was a period of heavy rain.
period of heavy rain, and it was extremely strong right around 502 and 500 Dory Place. And it so happens there was a sinkhole right above the sewer line, right there, and the ground at the easement between my property and the neighbors is definitely depressed more than it ever has been. And we have no idea what it was, other than possibly some sort of a seismic event that happened maybe after all that water in the limestone structure, maybe something collapsed under there, way under there, maybe even out in the field, but we all felt it. It was bizarre.
Well, Barry, the sinkhole didn't show up until the next day, right? You didn't
No,
notice that till the next day?
No, the sinkhole was there that day,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
So the water was pouring into that sinkhole because it's on an incline for hours. I went on to the geological, the website for the folks who track earthquakes, and I logged an incident report, but I never heard from anybody.
I checked with the state and the feds, and they said the only thing that they had was the original earthquake from Virginia.
Right.
So you had a sinkhole that opened up?
We had a sinkhole that opened up earlier in that day, maybe only about 4 feet by maybe 3 feet, if that. Damaged the sidewalk, but the ground following along the sewer line that goes all the way out to Route 78, all the way out through the fields, the ground towards the street is definitely sunk in more than it ever has been after that rainstorm. So.
You doing anything about the sinkhole?
Yeah, it's fixed.
Oh, yeah, sinkhole is
Yeah, no, we fixed the sinkhole next morning. I mean, it couldn't have been fixed quicker. I mean, that's.
Yeah, for the record, I was impressed of how the town and everybody reacted to that. Thank you very much.
There is a possibility, and this is, I'll give myself the benefit of the doubt and call it an educated guess. There is a possibility, because this was not registered as a seismic event anywhere by the USGS and so forth, that, and it's it's very localized, even though it's a big locale, that, I mean, we know we have limestone and we know all the problems that it has caused. There is a possibility that, especially during that event, that was Tropical Storm Lee, that night, there was an incredible amount of sinkholes that have arisen subsequent to Lee, which really was much worse than Irene, as far as damage, at least here. There, somewhere underground in that general vicinity, there was a gigantic void below the surface somewhere. And because of all the rain from Irene a few days before and that rain, that there was a tremendous collapse of material below grade into this void, and basically it caused this noise, explosion, sound that everybody heard. And above wherever this material fell into this underground cavern, the void, it's bridged by, it could be pinnacled limestone, it's just being bridged, and then the surface, what we commonly know as a sinkhole, has not been seen yet. I mean, that's just I'll call it an educated guess. Because
you gave yourself the benefit of the doubt too.
Twice, I guess now. Well, no, it makes sense, because I talked to Barry a number of times, I've talked to Rich, and it's really peculiar for everybody in that area to hear it, that everybody rushed out of the house in the middle of a torrential downpour. It had to be something of some consequence. Because let's be honest, unless you think your house got hit by lightning, you're not running out of the house in a torrential downpour.
And it actually happened twice. It was at like 7:30 and then again at like 10 o'clock.
Oh, it happened again?
No, we didn't feel, most of us did not feel.
Somebody else called in reporting a feeling of something
Yes.
giving way at like 10 o'clock at night.
Custodian at the school.
Custodian at the school said it, that's what Richard said. So, again, that's a possibility, but again, I mean, where do you start? And I mean, there are geologic firms that I know of that have ground penetrating radar. And they basically set up this machine, and it shoots radar into the ground, and it basically establishes a what we call a tin, a cross section of the subsoil. But you know, where you start, who knows? I mean, I don't know how expensive it is. I suspect it's probably pretty expensive. But yeah, it's a little.
Yeah, because it happened during Tropical Storm Lee, unfortunately, or just after September 5th, which was the deadline for Irene's event, in FEMA's eyes anyways, but we're still waiting for Tropical Storm Lee to be declared. Apparently there wasn't enough damage in the county yet. So we're still waiting on that. So unfortunately, Lee impacted the township more than Irene, as far as the number of houses. A lot more people because the water table is up so much higher. There's still people pumping basements today, unfortunately, because the water table is up so high. But that's what I was going to inquire with you about, is, you know, if there is something we can look into, that perhaps that's something that we can put in that request for public assistance for, and if we can get the cost of that covered by the grant, then hey, great. Other than that, I wasn't sure if you were aware of any other big issues that had come up that we would need to address.
No, but I'll take this opportunity to segue from your comments. As you know, we represent a few towns in the county, and a few of them actually got hit worse than Greenwich. We just took it upon ourselves to go to the FEMA meeting and sign us up, because there was no harm. It's just to get in the queue and to establish what I understand is that there will be, FEMA will assign, once we submit the forms, and I guess now we have 2 forms submitted, and we, again, just took it upon ourselves. We put the mayor as the primary contact, and then ourselves as the alternate contact, and Gary has 2 others. So we have 4 people out there. Now, FEMA is going to assign what's called a PAC, a public assistant coordinator, thank you, who will be following up with us to meet with us to provide them with the list and the dollars which we will be looking for FEMA assistance with. I would, I haven't talked to John directly, John as in Howell. Bruce, you're the liaison, DPW, right? I would call him tomorrow if you think about it, and have him start putting together a list if he hasn't already.
He's been doing that, hasn't he?
I spoke to him today about getting one together, because this is the first chance I got to see him.
We had that conversation actually about the same time.
You and I talked,
yeah. I talked to John the next day. He was kind of already, working on that, doing the list. Gary talked to him before that. So.
Yeah, we're going to need substantial more information than just a list. If FEMA wants.
Oh, they want to call us. Say, well, there's a lot more than just a list, but.
labor contracts is exactly how much people get paid per hour, who's going to be on overtime, who's not on overtime, you know, that sort of thing.
Would the
So-
cost of the sinkhole be included in all that?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the only one. We had a number of them that they, small ones, but that they went out.
Either way, there's an opportunity for us to recoup funding for what had happened, so.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion that we at least find out what the cost would be to bring in these specialists, these geologists to look this over, so at least we have an idea what it would cost if it comes down to us?
That'd be, there's a geotech engineer that we work with a lot. His name is Jeff Schomburg. He works for a company called Dynamic Earth. They're out of Clinton, actually. Do you know Jeff, Peter?
No, but I know another person similar.
All right, maybe we both can find out. But and I know he had, you know, we talked about this in respect to another situation, and this ground penetrating radar came up. So no, I can definitely give him a call. No problem.
You ruled out extraterrestrial causes.
But if you were to do some sort of survey,
There's some
you do it
fuzzy
over a pretty
pictures that we're
large
still-
area. You have to figure out.
Well, that's the problem. And you know, I don't know if it's a case where you rent this equipment for a day and you can do it in a day. I don't know how quickly it. I don't know if you set up on a point and it's got a radius of X feet and it gets the information instantaneously, or it's got to be sitting there for a half hour. I mean, I don't know much about it. So I don't know if it's talking you're there a day or you got to rent it for a week, or
Not to
you
mention
know.
the fact there's likely more than one void out there, and
Well, see, that's the other thing. You're going to find voids all over the place, because that's what, there could be a void running under my chair right now. I mean, really.
We're gonna give you the benefit of the doubt on that.
One other real
Okay.
quick thing, if somebody from the Express is here. FEMA will be here for Community Day. They will be part of the emergency management table to answer any questions that the residents may have, so they're encouraged to bring any questions forward to them. And also, Joe, thank you for the thanks, but I'll also like to point out, excellent job by Tom Kalari, my deputy. He ran our emergency operations center the day
Yes, he was up
Hurricane
very
Irene was
early
here.
that day.
I had to work with the county and got hammered up there, but
Yeah, early phone
I was
call.
very confident in Tom's abilities. He kept everything well under control here in the township. He did a great job. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. So,
I'm done.
you done? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, two things. One, I'd like to echo what the mayor said about grades. I think she's going to do a lot for us. I know, working with her, when I was president of recreation and we didn't have a treasurer, she was a big help to me. Her and Sharon were both a big help to me, and I think that we will miss her very much. So I want to wish Grace the best of luck and good luck to her wherever she goes, wherever she does.
And I forgot to reiterate too, Dan, that one of the biggest accomplishments, I think, as a result of all the work that's been done is our AA plus rating with S&P that we obtained, and I mentioned that at the last meeting. So that definitely is some hard facts around the work that was done by the financial team here.
The second thing being, again, both our emergency squads, the emergency squad and the fire department, the outstanding work they did for the hurricane. I came up here that day to speak with them to make sure everything was okay. And I do have an issue though. We need to buy some type of cots for these guys. They had no cots. They were sleeping on top of the hoses, on top of the fire trucks, in the chairs, and I think that's a sin. These guys are out here working and busting their chops, and they don't have a place to sleep. You know, we could empty out all the chairs in here, put cots in here, and do whatever we need to do. But I spoke with the chief about it. I don't know what the cost is. Maybe something that you and the chief can talk about, Gary. And
Normally they're available to us through the county, but because it was a county event, basically every cot was spoken for, because basically every shelter was opened up in the county.
Right.
That was the reason for that, but yeah.
We should probably have our own though, so that we don't have to rely on the county. You know, I'm not saying we got to go out and buy 100 or anything like that, but I think we should buy a certain number so that these guys got a place to sleep. You know, again, that they're out there helping us, they're doing a lot of work, and when they need to take a little sack time, I don't think sleeping on top of a couple of fire hoses is the place they should be. And so if they can do that for us and get back and give us a price, and we can maybe work something out for them. And an outstanding job also on the ceremony, Gary, on the 9/11. It was an outstanding job, and thank you for asking me to speak that day. I was proud and honored to do that. did an outstanding
I'll
job.
pass the thanks along to Chuck. It was his work. It was his hard work that put everything together. So Chuck and Sue, actually.
All right, okey doke. That's all I got with that. Environmental Commission. I did tell these guys that we did buy the truck.
Going to.
We're going to buy the truck will be
At this
purchased.
meeting, we're going to need to approve it. We can do it after executive. Paperwork.
It's not coming from township money, it's coming from money that we raise from grants and things like that.
It's the recycling tonnage grant.
To recycle, yes.
Recycling.
So that's a good thing, we'll finally get that. For Community Day, there'll be 2 sessions in the building here, 2 and 4 p.m., am I right, Barry?
Correct.
That will have the speaker that'll be here on septic.
A speaker from ANJEC will be here to talk about septic maintenance, the importance of, and answer questions for residents who wish to step inside that day.
Out of the rain.
Out of the rain.
I have everybody in here listening to septic.
Yeah. Environmental also purchased some coloring books and little packets of seeds to give out, saying Greenwich Environmental Commission. I think about 250 of each.
Correct.
Right, so that'll be handed out today, about Community Day, if we have Community Day. We will, okay. Community Day, right now, we look like, outside of the rain, it looks like everything is going well. Tents are being put up right now, just in case, to beat the rain that's coming tomorrow. But the weather report right now is looking at it's supposed to stop raining by Saturday morning, so hopefully we will have Community Day, maybe with some showers, but that should be nothing.
It's 30%, that's very low.
Yes. I also would like to thank Kim for all the work that she's done. She's done an amazing amount of work with Community Day. I couldn't have done a lot of the things that I got done without her. So Kim, thank you very much for all the work that you put in. Thanks to Elaine for the sponsors that she solicited for the booklet. That takes a lot of work also. So we should be good. We should be good for community. And I think that's it. I think I got it. Oh, while you're here, Chief, we need to get some signs for the church parking lot. They're having a problem with during certain times of the year, certain sports that a lot of people are parking in their lot. And what's happening is they're coming in, they're taking their spaces, and they sometimes are having a wedding or a church event or something going on, and then the parishioners at the church can't park there. The reverend who we spoke with has been pretty understanding about it, but it is causing a little issue for them. So if we could put up some type of signs saying no parking, or, you know, I don't know how you would want to word it, but something to let the residents know that that's not a parking lot for them to use, and it's a private lot.
That's private property though, on that dam. So, that would be up to the township committee if they just want to spend the money and put the signs up, but they're not going to be enforceable by us as a police department. We ran into this before with the Reverend and said that we'll be glad to go over there, assist them, issue the summonses that they would have to issue because it is private property. But he said he didn't want to get involved in that. So I don't know the best way you guys want to approach that.
Okay.
I mean, we could purchase temporary signs, we could put signs up if that's what the town wanted to do, but it wouldn't be anything that would really be enforceable by the township, it'd be enforceable by the property owner.
Post advisory signs.
Right, advisory signs, something of that nature,
That's fine, as long as we, we put something up. I don't want to get into giving out tickets either, that's not, I don't believe that's the way to go. But if we can put some type of warning up, just to let people know that.
whatever you guys want to do, yeah. And we'll go over there, we've done it before for the Reverend, we went over, asked people to leave. Part of the problem is, of course, that you get cars stacked up in there and there's events all over the different areas. We'll make announcements, we'll do what we can for them, but it's going to be up to them to fully enforce it if it comes to that.
Maybe Joe, you could speak with Recreation, because it's during the soccer season. And
listen, I've talked to Angie a number of times on it now. I said, to be, that's not a problem, it's probably just a problem on Sundays, right? Or
no,
it's a wedding on a
They
Saturday.
have Saturdays, and Angie, I spoke with Angie, she did speak with the coaches, the soccer coaches, and they had a team meeting with the parents and informed them that they can't park there during games or practices, and told them where they needed to park. and the following practice, there was no one parked over there.
That'll drift back.
It will, and people take the chain down, and they go the opposite way in the parking lot, and the pastor does have 3 little kids, and they speed in there, and they climb in there, and there's a lot of things going on at the church.
Well, we put up a sign that said $1,000 fine.
Well, there's a big sign that,
You know what, it'll help with some people. We had all the road closures during the hurricane. We still issue, I think, 10 or 12 tickets for people riding on the closed roads, moving the barricade, knocking them over. And
You gotta be kidding.
no. It's what it is.
And you know, I failed to mention the police department also, outstanding job also during the hurricane and the last storm that we had. So thanks a lot to all the departments. Thank you. Thanks. I'm done.
Okay, before I get on with my regular agenda items, last month during the regular township meeting, I asked Elaine to be quiet in a rather ungentlemanly fashion, which I regret. I did apologize to Elaine about a week later at the sewer subcommittee meeting, but that was a very small audience, and so I wanted to take the opportunity here to extend my apology again to under the lights, as it were.
We didn't really, I mean, it was not necessary. I think the article made more out of it than it actually was. But what it has brought is to in addition to that, it has brought, and I'm sure Joe feels the same way, we're sick and tired of reading in the paper about something that happened 2 years ago, and if, I think if Joe's apology still stands, I would be glad to accept Joe's apology. So Joe, if your apology still stands, I will be glad to accept that as well.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we can move on.
Okay.
And no more in the paper.
Good, thank you. Moving on, we had a special emergency meeting for a small item a little while ago. We brought up the fact that the chief had a meeting with the crossing guards prior to the start of the school session, basically looking at potential problems and all. And what came out of that was that there were some safety issues associated with parking over in the area of the elementary school, but I'd like to let the chief talk about that in terms of what the real safety issues are.
To put it in a nutshell, what it basically is in August I had a meeting with the crossing guards, went over a bunch of issues that they were running into. One of the main issues that came up in our meeting was the parking that's going on outside of the school property. What has happened is the school, if anyone's been down there, the school lets everybody in, they go through a line, they let the people in, and they do it pretty fast. But a lot of parents are realizing that if they park in a development on Wyndham Farm, Dory, Daniel, anywhere in there, they don't have to wait in a line. Their children walk out, they put them in the car, and then they're out of there pretty quick. But what started happening, especially toward the end of the school year, is people are parking on both sides of certain streets. And what happens from that is a couple different things. One, it's hard to move the traffic in and out, especially if a bus comes in. But most importantly, what's happening, especially on Wyndham Farm Boulevard, the northern section of the road on the other side of Greenwich Street, when the parents are parking on both sides of the road, the crossing guard will get the children across. Then the kids will walk down the sidewalk till they see mom or dad in the car, 10 or 12 cars down. Then they're shooting across the roadway, which basically defeats crossing them in the first place to get into the car. So what we came up with was a suggestion to the township, was that if we put no parking signs just during the school hours, 2-hour blocks in the morning, 2-hour blocks in the afternoon, on just one side. So that means parents can still park and pick their children up, but it leaves the other side open for vehicles, buses, things like that to get through without a problem, and also keeps the kids on the sidewalk so they can get into their parents' car without having to cross in the roadway. We weren't trying to inconvenience any of the residents. I had made a suggestion to Mr. Williams that if there was residents that lived on those roads that needed to park on the road, the township could come up with a little decal that we could put into their car back windows that say they're okay to be there. Like I said, it's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoons, and it was just, like I said, one of the suggestions that came up because of the safety issues with the kids jumping across the street to get into the cars. And that's pretty much about it in a nutshell. I gave the information to Peter, showed him where we were looking for, which roads and which side, and if that's what the committee wants to do, we can get the signs up and hopefully make that a little bit safer for the kids coming in and out.
And thank you, Chief. And following our meeting last week, I did reach out to Maria Eppolite to see what she had heard, and she went out and told the bus drivers and confirmed that there is a problem, a safety issue, children going across the street between cars where the buses can't see them and so on. So it really is a safety issue. So, and also the committee had authorized me at that last meeting to work with Peter to develop a no parking ordinance that covers this. And then from here I'll go to Peter because you.
Yeah, I have a kind of, we went back and forth a little bit with the construction of this ordinance, but I can pass it out. And I apologize for the crossed out word on the front page, but that we couldn't get our east straight from our west. But basically what this ordinance would do is prohibit parking on the west side of Wyndham Farm Boulevard from Greenwich Street to a point, and Mike, you'll have to fill in that number of feet there, but it's by the guide rail. And during the hours of 7 to 9 and 2 to 4, the second part, the second section, it talks about Wyndham Farm Boulevard on both sides from Greenwich Street south to Wyndham Farm Boulevard. Same hours. Now, the chief had indicated this was sort of something that he wanted to have in reserve and might not necessarily want to post at this time. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We're not seeing any issues with that now, but I figured that if you guys decided to do this and you're having the attorney do the ordinance, it might be better to put that in now in case once we have some of these other roads with the restricted parking, if people decide to do it and park right on Wyndham now, we just kind of move the problem from the side streets onto the main drag going in and out on the Wyndham Farm southern portion. So I figured if you want to do, put it into the ordinance, but see if an issue comes up, and then if it doesn't, you can always post the signs. But as of right now, that Wyndham Farm itself on the southern portion is not an issue with parking.
Unfortunately, this is a process that takes us 2 months to put an ordinance in place.
Unless you have a special meeting.
Normally, I wouldn't put something like that in there unless you're going to sign it and enforce it. But if you're really concerned about it, I guess we could simply not put up the signs and would not be enforceable until you signed it.
I have a question. This area we're looking at right now, Wyndham Farm Boulevard, both sides, from Greenwich Street south to Wyndham Farm Boulevard, there's something not right. That description is not making sense.
We can make this.
Okay, we'll worry about this later?
Yeah.
That doesn't.
It's Wyndham Farm Boulevard into the entrance of the school. Into the school.
To the end of one.
Okay, so it's not to Wyndham Farm Boulevard, it's to the school entrance.
It's Greenwich Street, it's all of Wyndham Farm Boulevard, south of Greenwich Street,
Right.
into the school.
Oh, okay, well, that's what it got to say. You know what?
Yeah, we had a little bit of back and forth.
Yeah. Okay, fine. And again, Peter tried to get this to me today, and I unfortunately wasn't available, and so,
the next
but this
one,
is minor.
Well, I just have, I'm not gonna finish.
Next is Daniel Drive on the north side from Wyndham Farm Boulevard to Cook Court, same hours. Daniel Drive on the south side would be the entire length for those hours. And finally, Dory Place on the south side, same hours, from Wyndham Farm Boulevard to Walter Way. Again, subject to Mike reviewing this.
Why would you consider Wyndham Farm both sides? Why wouldn't you just do one side as well?
The only reason why I leaned on that was because of the amount of bus traffic going in and out, and the parents coming out on the, say, northbound on Wyndham Farm, and these buses and stuff, and the other parents coming in. It gets, I don't know if you've been down there, it gets bumper to bumper from the school entrance all the way down to Greenwich Street to Yvonne.
So
Backed up. So if you have any parking anywhere whatsoever, you're not going to be able to swing a vehicle out.
Forcing everyone to go down to Yvonne Way to get out then? You're almost forcing everyone to go down to Yvonne Way to get out?
No, no,
this is parking.
this is parking, this is for the people that are waiting to pick their kids up at the end of the
I
day.
know, so where, if they're not going out to Wyndham, are they facing Wyndham Farm Boulevard to get out of those side streets, or are they facing?
No, what's happened is, yeah, they're parking, saying, here is, Wyndham Farm South going into the school, say this is the school
All
back
right,
in
so,
here.
all right, so say they're leaving.
They're leaving, they're coming out here, but people were parking on all of these side streets
Right, I
waiting
got
for
that.
the
So
kids.
which way are their cars which way are they allowed to park?
On Wyndham Farm here,
No, on the side streets. Are
They would be
are
allowed to
all
park.
parking that way?
yeah, they'd be parking this way, here,
Right, so that
and
means.
this way here, so you have a lane open on either side and along with the sidewalk. What I'm trying to do is not have the kids have to cross.
So the only way they can get out is this, by coming down this way and going out to this way, because they're parking this way, they're not able to make a U-turn and go out Wyndham Farm Boulevard.
Correct,
Here,
a lot of them,
they have
a lot
to
of
go
them are
out.
doing that now.
They're
A
gonna
lot of
have to
them-
go down to Avon Way and actually.
For just the ones that park on this, we're
Right,
talking
right.
probably 15, 20 cars or so.
Okay.
That are doing it here, the same thing here, the same thing here. And it varies, of course, on the weather, the
A
rain,
lot of them
things
go
like
out
that.
Yvonne anyway, because you
Oh,
have
they
this
do?
big crossing there at Greenwich Street
Okay.
with the kids going across and all
Okay.
the.
Right, and try to avoid it,
Okay.
so they'll cut this way.
Okay.
Some will come up, especially if they see one of us
Okay,
out
so
here.
you know the traffic pattern. Okay. Okay, I'm not confused now. Okay.
The only thing I'm a little bit uncomfortable with is putting in this second section about Wyndham Farm Boulevard if you're not gonna sign it. I mean, I think,
We can amend it later.
The reason why,
We can
Peter,
amend it
like I said,
later.
we're trying to make it as,
Well, we can amend it and add it later.
yeah, I just.
Whatever works
If
for
you're
you.
not gonna, you know, if you enacted it and then you didn't sign it and then there was some sort of an accident, I think it wouldn't, that wouldn't be good.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
So I'd suggest, unless you're gonna sign it, I would suggest taking that second provision out
Out.
at this time.
The Wyndham Farm Boulevard, the one we're just talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Southern section.
unless you wanna leave it in and sign it,
So
You're gonna
you're
sign it?
okay with cars parking then, there?
No, I'm not.
That's why I'm
We
saying,
haven't
well,
run into it
Then
yet.
you need to sign it. Then you need to sign
Yeah,
it. Then
That's-
sign it.
At least one of the sides, no?
Then put the sign up.
either way, it's
Because we
fine with
can't
me,
have it
but
in here.
if you enact it, you need to sign it.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Maybe
So let's
sign-
do
Put
it
the
then.
signs up.
Yeah, because otherwise, if we go to amend it, then we got another 2 months, and then
Then,
we're just.
Yeah, that's
then
why
we
we're
sign it.
looking-
We take the action now. That's all. We don't put it in and not sign it. Because then it opens us up.
I'm for that.
Okay.
And just out of curiosity,
That's all.
Barry is a resident right over there, do you have any issue with this?
They will, well, yes, I'm actually, this is the first time hearing it, but I'm actually glad that one side of Dory will be no parking. We want the parents to be able to do the right thing, maybe in the park. But right now, it clogs, as you said, that entire road, because they park on both sides, and I watch.
So it should be a benefit for the residents there as
It'd be a
well.
benefit
Yeah, we
for the
have
children.
gotten complaints from the residents